لا ما انا مذاكر. لا انا مذاكر.
Welcome back. We start with our main topic today. We're discussing today the active role of the civil society and also the NGOs in the social sustainable development. And to shed more light on this, we have the pleasure to host today our dear guest, His Excellency Ambassador Ayoub, Mahmoud Ayoub, former Minister Commercial. Good morning.
Good morning to you and to the viewers.
Yes. Your Excellency Ambassador Ayoub, how do you see the social role of the different NGOs in Egypt and also the importance of that role, notably in the field of development of Egypt?
NGOs or non-governmental organizations or civil society organizations play a dominant and important and vital role in the development of any community, whether in Egypt, in Japan, in America, in South Africa, all over the world. It is well considered case that NGOs have a role to play, and there is a much need for these NGOs to take the hold in the areas which the government cannot satisfy. Why? Because they are a part of the community itself. So they have the feelers, they have the pulse of the community, what is needed, and they know it first, and they are the first to act to satisfy the needs of the community. This is one thing. Other thing is that because it is a voluntary work, we are all volunteers, so we are not paid. So we are satisfied by God or by the community or by ourselves that we are doing good for the others who are in need of this service at this time at low cost. I will say at low cost. It is very important because what the NGOs are doing in the community in Egypt, as they are doing it as volunteers, they are not paid. Second, they don't make any profits. Third, they make it at the lowest cost possible. Why the lowest cost possible? Because they are all professionals. They are all professionals in many areas of the community. So I'm not going to give this project to a contractor, but rather we are doing it ourselves. This minimizes the cost and also it cuts the time, and we know for sure what is going to happen, and it is always under our eyes, which is very important.
Yes. So also the role of the social society and the different NGOs in Egypt in when it comes to achieving the social sustainable development of Egypt's Plan 2030.
SDGs of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals are adopted by Egypt. We have clear roadmap 2030 and what needs to be done. What needs to be done can be done and will be done through three organizations, three main institutions. First, the state or the government. Second, the private sector. Third, the NGOs. The NGOs, I will call it like the cement which makes this transaction possible and feasible and can be implemented properly and in good time and at the lowest cost possible. Yes. The NGOs play a role in all the areas in 17 SDGs of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. 17 areas they are working in. Environment, the elderly, the water, the persons with special needs, the people who need to be rehabilitated, and even in the disaster relief. A lot of areas, even for the elderly people, they go and help. So the NGOs play a role that is vital and indispensable. Why? Because the government, any government, cannot do everything on its own. That's one thing. Other thing that the government does not know they can know a little bit later. I'll give you an example. When there was some floods in Aswan or in Ras Gharib, it happens. In Sinai it happens, in Ras Gharib it happened, in Qina and Aswan it happened. The first persons or people to step in were the NGOs, because they are a part of the community, and they stepped in with the blankets, with the medicines, with the medications, and with food items
Yes.
for the people on the moment. And
Yes.
then the government and other government organizations stepped in a little bit later, but the first persons, because they feel the pulse and they know what is needed now, and they are the first to act according to what is needed now in this area, and they pay it from their own pockets, by the way, which is very important. We are volunteers, we pay from our own pockets, and we help the others
Yes.
to support themselves.
Yes, Your Excellency Ambassador Ayoub, that brings us to the very important point, which
Yes.
volunteering. The importance of volunteering and the work of charity, which is a very upgraded thing, and brings peace to a person and spreads the love in the whole society. So we'd like to shed light on the importance of volunteering.
Volunteering is very important for any community. We need to create awareness between the people that they can volunteer and they have to volunteer, and they are going to benefit a lot from volunteering. This is one thing. Other thing is that we pinpoint or focus on the persons who are needed in this area or for this job, and contact them and encourage them to step in and volunteer, because they are paid back by God or by the community or by gratification or by whatever means, not material means. So they feel that their social value is higher. For a person who is doing community work, he feels that he is far better than those who are idle or are waiting to be helped. This is very important. We help the others, and to help the others to help themselves, which is very important. Volunteering is a part of the religion, by the way. I will not quote verses of Quran or Bible or Torah.
Yes.
It is there. It is there. So volunteering is very important for the community, and also the government needs volunteering. Why? Because many projects need volunteers to step in, because the government not do all the job alone.
Yes, of course. Yes.
It cannot do. The private sector, maybe it is profit-minded, but the NGOs are not profit-minded.
Yes.
Because we are non-profit organizations.
Yes, so that brings us also to a very important point, which is the difference between the NGOs and the private sector.
The private sector is working for profit.
Yes.
It is okay
Yes.
for them to work for profit, but
In coordination with the government or the
in
state.
coordination with the government, of course.
Yes.
But the NGOs, they must coordinate with the government and with the private sector, so that they can live in this community and do what is needed at the time of need and in specific areas. We, the NGOs, cannot replace the government, cannot,
Yes,
and
yes.
should not replace,
But
of
could
course.
they give help or...
They are supportive and indispensable in many areas. As I mentioned, when there are floods, when there a pandemic, which we've seen in many cases, we have seen the pandemic which happened in Egypt. The NGOs, we brought medication and all the needs for personal protective equipment from Canada to Egypt through the NGOs. It was from entity to entity. So we helped the doctors and nurses at the early days of COVID in Egypt. The NGOs stepped in and very promptly, and this helped a lot of doctors and nurses in the public hospitals. By the way, when we go, we have a project, we make it in the public institutions, like public hospitals and so, not private hospitals.
Yes, so concerning the private sector, in many occasions, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi have invited the private sector to take part in the development work that is taking place in Egypt.
It is very important that the private sector steps in and they play its role according to the Sustainable Development Goals or 23 roadmap, and the road is there, and the map is clear now, and the private sector has a role to play. Of course, they must make profit. Okay, that's no problem about that. But what is important that they must implement the goals of sustainable development goals of the 2030 plan of Egypt. This is very important. The country or the government gave them every facility they needed. First, to begin with, there is a new law for NGOs in Egypt. Now, most of them are now, they are going to accommodate themselves with the new law, and most of them did that, and this to enable them to work under the eyes, which is very important, of the government, which is very important. They are working according to what is needed, and in the way because sometimes we find that some foreign organizations try to help local NGOs.
Yes.
In this case, we must be very cautious. It is welcome to begin with, but according to our rules. That is according to the rules of the country, or what is stipulated by the government, which is very important, because what is needed in this area, who knows better? The locals know it more than the foreign donors. The foreign donors might have their own hidden goals. We accept this, but we also we cannot go with them in anything which is against what is needed by the community and what is stipulated by the government, which is very clear to us and should be clear to all the NGOs. Work in Egypt, we should be working within the framework of the government and to achieve the goals which are clear and publicized, and let us step in certain areas. Let us say elderly citizens, for example. Many of them need support, medical support, or counseling, or just babysitting, or a person all helpers. It is very, very small things which can be done, but it can rehabilitate persons and bring in the back to the main field of that. Let us cooperate together to help those who need at the time of need, and we know what is needed, and do it as NGOs. We are doing it properly, and as I mentioned, always at low cost, and this is what the NGOs are going to do, and they should do. But in all cases, it should be clear what we need to do. There is a map, and there are many things in clean water, for example. Sometimes in the countryside, people need scaffolding or just the cover for their houses. The NGOs do that from their own resources, which is very important. They do not go to the government to give them the money, but they do it and they raise money. The NGOs raise money for the projects which they do. And when the donors find that the money is going to the right place and to the right people, they give more. And this encourages others to step in and help more. So the NGOs play a vital role. The president himself is appreciating what the NGOs are doing. The president himself is giving a leeway for the private sector to play its role in development the country and reaching the sustainable development goals within the framework of 2030. 2030 is just 7 years from today. So there's a lot to be done, and it should be done today, and the NGOs have a role to play, and luckily the government is giving support, and also they are listening to what they say. Listening is very important. We need transparency. That is very important. Transparency so that we know what is needed today in the community. For example, if we say to Alexandria and Bahir, when we go, I'll give you an example. Literacy lessons, just literacy lessons for the women or for the girls. It raises the standard. So
of course.
The Ministry of Education cannot do everything. So the NGOs do it in a way which is well known, concentrated language encounter that is helping the people to be literate within just 8 months. So we are changing them from illiterate to literate in just 8 months by this CLA or concentrated language encounter. So the NGOs are inventing, if I can say, inventing new ways of helping the community at the time of need. In Egypt, we have the illiteracy is 23% or more, and they are helping a
Yes.
very positively in this respect, because they are changing the persons. Because when we always focus on the women. Why? Because when you educate the woman and give her literacy, at least the minimum is literacy, she will tend to educate her children or her husband or her parents.
Yes,
So
of course.
it's a double or triple effect
Yes.
when we go
Yes.
to the persons who are influential in the very small
Yes.
cell of the community, that is a small family.
Your Excellency, Ambassador Ayoub, also spreading the awareness of charity or volunteering is very important also. What are the ways or the channels that we could spread this awareness and the concept of charity?
The concept of charity is in all religions, by the way. So it is the
And
will
the
of
Egyptian
God.
character
Yes. But
also.
the charity should be channeled, properly channeled, to the most needy. Who knows the most needy? The people in the community.
Yes.
Who are the people in the community who are influential enough and knowledgeable enough? That is the NGOs, because they are a part. We have our factories there, we have our farm there, and we know what is needed by the peasant or the villagers, and what is they need health care, for example, at least.
Yes, so
Health-
you mean that the neighbors should know what are the most needy?
They know better.
The community they
Yes.
are living in, you mean they
Yes.
don't have to be related or a member of a special foundation for charity or volunteering, but they could help others, their neighbors, their friends, their family?
Because we are living in the community.
Yes, yes.
So we feel the pulse.
Yes.
And what is needed by the people. So they are our neighbors or are working for us. They
Yes,
are
or
our
workers,
Yeah, they
yes.
are workers working for us. And so they come, he's sick or he want with medication. Who knows better? The person in charge, the person who is in direct contact with them. So the NGOs are the part of the community, and they are the barometer or thermometer of what is needed today, where, and how. How is very important, and how much it will cost. And this is what the NGOs are doing. They know what is needed. They satisfy it very, very quickly at low cost. And at the end of the day, they pave the way for the government. When it comes on a plain way. They can do it properly. And of course, the NGOs will not replace the government, by the way. They don't replace,
Of
but
course.
they help and make the life of government is far easier when
Yes.
there are active NGOs. The jobs of the government is far better, is far easier,
Yes.
and far less costly.
Yes.
Is-
Ambassador Ayoub, we're approaching Ramadan holy month, and of course you know that in Ramadan people help each other and provide others with meals and food. And so give us an idea about the importance of this thing, and how could we make this for the whole year, not only the month of the whole, of Ramadan?
Wallahi, what happens in Ramadan,
Yeah.
something which is fascinating. We see our boys and girls and going collecting money, and then they are buying the ingredients of Ramadan, not from the shops, but from the wholesale shops or from the importers. And they are doing it in themselves, the boys and the girls, in packages of 10 or 15 or 20 kg, and distributing it to the most needy families in the countryside and even in the towns. Some poor families in towns, they go in the areas like Shobra
Yes.
and Sharabiya and other areas like that, and we have seen it in Kenya, and we have seen it in Sohag
Yes.
and in Bani Suif and the Bahira.
Yes.
They prepare the prepare at local. First, they fund fundraising, which is very important.
Yes.
Second, they buy it. Third, they package it on their own, and then put the name of the organization which is donating. And in many cases, we ask them to put the names of the contribution. Those who made contribution, put their names in it. It is not bad. It is good appreciating what they have done and encouraging the others to do or to compete with them in doing charity for those who need, especially at the time of Ramadan. Especially with the escalation in prices in the recent years, all over the world, not only in Egypt, we find that the NGOs play a vital role in filling the gaps. It also fill the gaps because in many cases, the official organizations cannot do all the job alone.
Yes.
So the NGOs should step in and help, especially at the time of Ramadan. And many people, by the way, want to give charity and don't know how to do it and to whom to give it. The NGOs can do the job. I'm speaking about the NGOs who are a part of the committee and they are going to the door to door and knocking the doors and see what they need. Mainly, in most of the cases, you find that the women are more efficient in this respect because when they go door to door and knock the door and they speak to the housewife, what we need, what is the case,
Yes.
what the medication is needed, what we have today, and will this be enough for the whole month, and how much the father is earning. So there is a gap. We will step and fill this gap during this month of Ramadan. And in many cases, people, when they find that their money has been directed to the right channel or the right beneficiary, they tend to give all year, not only in Ramadan. This is very important. Once they see a successful mission or mission possible and successful, they tend to give more, not only for Ramadan, but also for the months after that. When we go to the hospital and give them, for example, kidney dialysis apparatus, and we see the people from 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning standing in line in queue so that they find a chance for the cleaning their blood. This means that when we go and pass and see the people, and when we give another kidney dialysis apparatus and putting them or doubling, this means that you are cutting to the half the time which is needed.
Yes.
So a lot of things have been done by the NGOs, and I'm very pleased that NGOs in Egypt are supported by the government, and the president himself encouraged them to step in with the private sector, which also plays a role in this respect.
I thank you very much for your time. Thank you for coming today and for your valuable information. Ambassador Ayoub, Mahmoud Ayoub, former Minister Commercial. I really had the pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you so much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the Liverpool striker Mohamed Salah has become the club's highest goal scorer in the history of the English Premier League. He attained this record to overtake Robbie Fowler as the Reds' all-time biggest Premier League goal scorer against rivals Manchester United. The details in the following report.
Mohamed Salah wrote his name in the Liverpool history books on Sunday, becoming the club's all-time leading goal scorer in the Premier League. Salah